Assalamualaikum students. Hope you all are doing great with the grace of Almighty. I'm also fine. I'm Sonia, the teacher of Milestone Preparatory KG School, Uttara Sector 7. So today I'm going to take your science class, and this is going to be on Chapter 7, Natural Resources. So this is going to be a revision class to help you take the preparation of second term exam, because your second term exam is knocking at the door. So today's classwork number is 42, Revision Class 2, Chapter 7, Natural Resources. In today's class, I will be covering the natural resources, their types, their classification, the uses of natural resources, and how can we conserve the natural resources. So let's start the class.
As the name of the chapter is natural resource, so at first learn what is called natural resource. Simply, natural resource is something that is found in nature, and there will be no human action. They are completely made by the nature. So what we can say? We can say a natural resource is something found on earth and useful to us. So human use the natural resources to fulfill their requirements, such as we need air to breathe, we need water to drink, we need plants for food, and we need soil to grow the plants. So what can be the example of natural resources? Sunlight is a natural resource. Water is a natural resource. The air is a natural resource. So natural resources are found all over the earth, and there are some natural resources which can be found under the earth's surface. Everyday life we use different types of natural resources. Now we are going to talk about those types of natural resources. Those are water resource, forest resource, land resource, mineral resource, and other resources. Let's talk about those resources. So at first we are going to talk about one of the precious resources of nature, which is water resource. Water is very important for our survival. And do you know that 70% of our surface is water? From where do we get the water? We get the water from ocean, from lake, river, pond, and most importantly from rainfall. You know how the rain is formed, right? Now, what are the purposes we use the water for? We use the water for drinking, washing, cooking, cultivating, and farming. We cannot think of cultivating the plants without the water, right? So water is very important. We get fishes from river, pond, lake, right? So fishes is very important source of protein, and protein is important for our health. So water resource is very important. Last but not the least, we use the water current to generate electricity. Water current means the moving water, the flow of the water. So we use the water current to generate electricity. So water resource is very important for our life. Next comes the forest resource. Forestry is the main source of wood. We use wood in various purposes. For example, the paper we write on is made from wood. Also, we use different types of furniture in our daily life. Mostly they are made from wood. We can also burn the trees, and it can be used as fuel. The burned trees make heat energy, and that can be used as fuel in many industries or maybe for cooking. So forest resources are very important in our daily life. Next is land resources. It is also one of the important resources of nature. Land is the habitat of many plants and animals. We can grow the crops, we can farm the livestock on land, and these crops and livestock provides us with food. So eating those food, we are surviving. Now we cannot build our houses on air, right? We need a land. So we build our houses on land. So land is important. Now one of the component of land is soil, and we use the soil for building materials like brick, concrete, and also we use the soil for making the pottery and decorating our houses. So land resources are also important. Next is mineral resource. All over the earth's surface we get various kind of natural resources. Even under the earth's surface there are many natural resources. We can keep them in the class of mineral resource. We can find some natural resources such as rocks, minerals, oil, coal, and natural gas from land or underground. There are some kind of inorganic solids that we can find under the ground is called minerals, such as gold, silver, copper, iron. Gold and silver are used to make many kind of ornaments and jewelry. Iron is used for many constructions, And limestone and marble are one kind of rocks. This limestone and marble can be used to build the roads or many buildings. Now, the burning oil and coal and natural gases produce heat energy, and these energies can be used to run many machines or vehicle, or for cooking or producing the electricity. So, mineral resources are also important. There are other resources like sunlight, wind. Sunlight is providing us with unlimited light and heat energy. Nowadays, sunlight and wind are being used for generating electricity, because we cannot solely depend on water for the generation of electricity. So, nowadays sunlight and wind are also being used for production of electricity to meet our need of electricity. Have you ever seen the sailboat? Those sailboats use the wind for moving on the water. So, sunlight and wind are also important resources that helps in our regular life. Now, natural resource can be classified into two classes depending on their availability. For example, a renewable resource and non-renewable resource. Now, what are the renewable resources? Renewable resources are those natural resources that can be replaced by the nature or can be used again and again. For example, after cutting down the plants, if we plant another tree, it will grow again. Or air or water, air is never limited. Or water, in the nature, the water is maintained by the water cycle, and from the sun we are getting the unlimited source of light and heat energy. So, these resources are being replaced by the nature again and again. So, renewable resources are those resources that can be replaced by the nature, and we can use those resources again and again. On the other hand, non-renewable resources need millions of years to be replaced again by the nature once it is used up. So, what are the non-renewable resources? They are the natural resources that cannot be replaced for millions of years once it has been used up. We already know that natural gas, oil, coal, minerals, all those need millions of years to be produced. That is why it is said to be to use the non-renewable resources wisely, because once if we finish this non-renewable resources, we cannot produce this again. We need energy to run all the functions in our daily life, starting from using a mobile phone to traveling somewhere, using a car. Everywhere we need energy. Now, any resource that is used to produce energy is called energy resource. There are various types of energy resource. No matter which kind of energy you are using at your home, it is good idea to have knowledge about the energy resources and their responsible use, so that you can do your part of saving it. Now, sunlight. The sunlight is an important energy resource. People use solar panel to get energy from the sun. Solar panels are devices that transform the sunlight into the electricity. You may have seen the solar panels on the roof of houses. Nowadays it is very available to see. What these solar panels do? They convert the sunlight into electricity and helps to meet our requirements of electricity. Next is water current. Water current, we are using the water current to produce energy from a long period of time. Water current is the most widely used energy resource, and water current turns the blade of a turbine and spins the generator to produce the electricity. Now, next is wind. Wind is one of the most promising energy resource. People use wind to produce electricity. When the wind turns the blades of a wind turbine, it spins a generator and produces electricity. From a long time we are using the water current for the production or for the generation of electricity, but with the advancement of technology, the energy resource of sunlight and wind is being available, and these two are very environment friendly. Next is oil, coal and natural gas. These are non-renewable resources. That means once if we use up all the resources, then we cannot replace it again, and these are called fossil fuels. When they are burned, they give off heat, The heat is used to cook the food or to run a vehicle or to produce the electricity and to warm homes in the temperate countries. Now I am going to show you a video. It will clear your idea about the energy resource.
Smile and learn.
Renewable energy. We obtain energy from two different sources: renewable energy sources and non-renewable energy sources. Today we're going to learn about renewable energy sources. Renewable energy refers to all those limitless energy sources present in nature. The sun, the wind, the force of water, or the inner heat of the earth are examples of renewable energy sources. These energy sources are present in nature and are naturally replenished. That's why they never run out. These are some of the most well-known renewable energy types. Solar energy comes from the sun and reaches us as light and heat. For example, thanks to these solar panels, we can capture sunlight energy and transform it into thermal energy to heat water in this house. Eolic energy comes from the movement of air or the wind. For example, these windmills transform wind into electric energy. Tidal wave energy comes from the movement of sea waves or when tides change from high to low, and vice versa. Hydraulic energy is produced by the water we store in reservoirs or artificial lakes. Look at this dam! Water falls over from a high spot. Then, it flows through the hydroelectric factory, where the force of the water is transformed into electric energy. Geothermal energy is generated from the heat stored in the earth. This type of energy is used for heating a house or generating electricity, for example. Let's look at some of the main advantages of renewable energies. They are environmentally friendly because they don't emit CO2 or greenhouse effect gases. They are limitless because they are obtained from natural resources that don't run out and replenish naturally. They are safer for our health because they don't generate toxic residues harmful for people. There is no doubt that renewable energies have many advantages, but there are disadvantages as well. Renewable energy resources are not found everywhere in the world. Countries with shorter daylight hours cannot produce as much solar energy as other parts of the world.
What we have to keep in our mind is that natural resources are not unlimited. So we have to use them wisely. Otherwise, if we keep wasting the natural resources, one day when we actually need them, we won't be able to use it. So, wise use of natural resource is important. That's where the concept of conservation of natural resources has come. It means preserving and wise use of natural resources. So there are some ways how we can conserve the natural resources. Those are reducing the use of natural resources, reusing the natural resources, recycling the resources, using the renewable resources, lastly changing some of our behaviors. Let's discuss all of them. The best way to conserve the natural resource is being economic while we are using the natural resources. So what will happen if we are being economic? It will make the less wastage of the natural resources. For example, during cooking we can use the natural gas, but when the cooking is done we have to stop the gas stove. Thus we can stop the unnecessary wastage of the natural gas. That's how we can reduce the use of natural resources, which is unnecessary. Reusing also can help in conservation. Reusing means using something again and again. Think of a paper. Paper we use for writing, and paper is made from wood, which is one of the important forest resources. So when you are done with writing, instead of dumping the paper into the dustbin, you can use this paper again by making the shopping bag. That's how you are contributing to save the natural resources being wasted without proper use. Recycling means using the old material and making a new thing. Now, recycling can also help to conserve the natural resource. Again, think of the example of paper. paper is made from the trees. Trees everywhere, millions of trees are being cut down for making the papers. So if we use the old paper and make new paper again, then it will help to reduce the number of trees being cut down. That's how we can save this forest resource. Fourth one is using the renewable resources. Increasing the use of renewable resources ultimately going to decrease the use of non-renewable resources. In our regular life, people get more of electricity mainly from the non-renewable resources such as oil, coal and natural gases, and we already know that we cannot replace them in million of years. That's why we have to reduce their use, and instead of non-renewable resource, we have to use the renewable resources such as sunlight energy, wind and water energies. That's how we can save the non-renewable resources. Last but not the least, some small changes in our behavior can help us a lot to conserve the natural resources. For example, if you are coming out of a room, turn off the light and fan. It is going to save the electricity. When you, after washing your hand, just stop the tap water, it's going to save the water. When your cooking is done, you just stop the gas stove, it's going to save the gas. When you are using a paper for writing, use it properly, use the both side of the paper, it's going to save the paper. That's how some small changes in our behavior is going to help us to conserve the natural resources. So our first big Q&A is how do we get energy from the natural resources. So we have already learned what is called energy resources. What are the resources we use to produce energy? Those are sunlight, wind, water, oil, coal and natural gases. So in this question you have to explain that how do we get energy from these resources. From the sunlight we produce electricity by using the solar panel on our rooftop, and from the wind turns the blades of a windmill and which is connected with a generator, and that will produce the electricity. Water current is produced by water current turns the turbine connected to a generator, and it will produce the electricity. And from the burning gas and oil and coal, heat is being generated, and it can be used to cook food or to run a vehicle or to produce electricity. Second big Q&A is explain 2 ways that we can conserve the natural resources. I have already discussed 5 ways of conserving natural resources. You will explain any of the 2 you like. Third one is why is it important to increase the uses of renewable energy. In short, if we increase the use of renewable energy resources, then it is ultimately going to reduce the use of non-renewable resources, because non-renewable resources we cannot replace them in million of years. So if we increase the use of renewable resources like sunlight, water, wind energy, then ultimately it is going to conserve the non-renewable resources like oil, gas, petrol and etc. That's why it is important to increase the use of renewable energy. The creative questions are what is called energy resource and how can we use wind as energy resource. Very easy question, you can write very easily this one. Second one is how can we change our behavior to conserve our natural resources. The 5th ways of conserving the natural resource you are going to explain here. This is the list of short questions like name 5 types of natural resources, what is called natural resources, give 4 examples, give a definition of renewable and non-renewable resources. 4th one, give one difference between energy and energy resource. 5th one, what natural resources are available in Bangladesh. 6th one, what is fossil fuel, give example. 7th one, give a clear definition about conservation, reusing, recycling of resources. 8th long question is how we can conserve natural resources by changing our behavior. So homework for today's class is learn all the items from chapter 7. So this was all for today's class.
Hope this class is going to help you to take preparation in second term exam. Thank you for paying attention in the class. Hope to see you soon and good luck for your exam.